Tell me about your vision.
Yeah. So my vision, it took a long while to get here. I didn't start out in the entrepreneurial journey. I actually started out in corporate on Wall Street doing finance and project management and everything else, and realized very early on that was not the path for me. That was not the journey that I meant to be on. And fortunately, I was able to partner with my wife. We own a business coaching company together, and I stepped in to basically help execute on her vision, right? So I kind of accidentally stumbled into the role of a COO, Chief Operating Officer, sometimes called a second in command, right? So I'm running the business. She's on the front stage. I'm more on the backstage, taking care of the day-to-day and everything else. And I did that for 16 years. And we built that company to a very successful multi-seven-figure, what I would call a self-managing company. So it just runs, it works, et cetera. And then there were a lot of people that were in our community that were tapping me on the shoulder and saying, Derek, can I hire you? I need you to do for my business what you've done for your wife's business. And so I started to offer fractional, meaning part-time, COO services for just a small select few clients. And there was more and more need and more demand. And I knew that I couldn't scale that, right? Because it was just me. And so last year I launched the COO solution, and I built out a team. Now we have 10 COOs, as well as OBMs as an online business manager that is a little bit more in tactical implementation. And we've been scaling and growing. And it's an interesting dynamic because I'm now basically on the front side of what I used to do with all of the clients, right? So I'm doing all of the vision. I'm doing all of the kind of the big idea of the future. I just launched a podcast, for example. I'm working on a book, and I'm doing all of these other, founder visionary activities, which is very, very exciting. And that's my vision. My vision is to continue to scale the COO solution and offer those services to entrepreneurs and business owners that know they need something different, right? Like, as you've probably heard, what got you here is not going to get you there. So when they realize they're at that tipping point or glass ceiling and they know they need something else, and more of the same is not necessarily going to get them to the next level, that's where we step in and really can contribute to make a difference. And we're doing that with more and more clients, all the time. And that's my vision, is to continue to scale and build and offer this support for those that need it, and also for those that want it.
Yes. So now you're the visionary.
Exactly. Yeah. So the tables have turned a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, but still with the COO superpower.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing that's brilliant about, like I talk my walk, right? So I have one of my COOs who is the CEO of the COO solution. So she's helping me in everything that we would normally do for a client, as I am the client in this regard for my business. So it's been very exciting to kind of put myself out there in the front stage in this way, and leveraging those 16 years of how we do what we do, right? We're very systematic. We have a process. We have a structure in place that we could put into a business and help them scale and grow, whether it's a coaching business or brick and mortar, or they provide a service. It doesn't really matter. Business is business, right? Marketing is marketing. Operations is operations. So we have the skill set and the expertise and the experience of a well-versed team that can help clients do that.
I love that. And then you have so much passion behind it. I feel it and I hear it.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I just had this aha moment. So briefly, my own personal story. I went from answering the telephones. I was one of the individuals that would answer a telephone from a billboard on how you get tested for HIV, right? So I just picked up. Yeah, it was a very challenging job, but I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't do the job. So answer the phone for many years, Derek. I made it to COO. From the phones to COO, and I realized, just the org. I realized I was a visionary.
Yeah.
Could not be the COO and be a visionary. And so when some things changed, it was grant funded. When the grant changed, I accidentally quit. I forgot to tell my significant other and everything. And I was like, okay, I quit. And they're like, well, we're just changing in salary. But in my mind, now I just had that aha moment, because COO and a visionary, you actually have to have somebody to balance that out.
Exactly.
Being that person and that one was too challenging for me to know that I wanted to be on the side that was the outreach, the feet to the pavement, kind of person, where they wanted me in the office behind the computer. I'm like, no, I'm going with them. So really, you just gave me that aha moment to like, no wonder why I just quit.
Yeah, exactly. It's very true. And there are a number of different assessments or profiles that you can subscribe to help us understand. Am I more aligned to be a visionary, or am I more aligned to be that second in command? And oftentimes, I would say majority of the times, you are either one or the other, right? Because there are certain characteristics, you have innate strengths and abilities and characteristics and ways of taking action that define you as a visionary, which is usually somewhat different from somebody who enjoys getting into the weeds of things and figuring out the minutia of the problems and solving challenges at a detailed level, versus somebody who's like that. I need the big picture. I need the vision. I need the future. And it's interesting, when I started working with my wife, I didn't know anything about her business. I didn't know anything about the coaching business. I didn't know anything about online marketing or anything of that regard. And so I often, describe the story. I had to start out in the mailroom, so to speak, like getting into the very beginning, like, so what's an email list, and what's a coaching program, and who are your clients, and how do you market your services, and how do we do a workshop, and figuring all of that out, and then realizing that there are similarities, right? There are common themes on how you scale and grow a business, again, independent of the industry. But when you know thyself, when you know who you are, how you're wired, what your strengths are, what really gives you joy and fulfillment, and be able to leverage that as an asset into the business, just like an asset would be if you owned a store or your email list or your presence online, and then being able to leverage different assets, leverage your second in command, leverage your visionary to be more visionary, to be more COO-like. That's where you get real traction. That's where you get momentum and a lot of, results to go along with it.
So I mean, with all of that said, it makes sense to me. And I'm so excited that we're having this conversation together, because now an audience can see how what it looks like, what a system looks like, and then just being okay with what you just said, your strengths. Your piece to the business, right? And making sure you know exactly who you are. You don't cross those paths and do something that you have no desire to do at all. So it really brings me to this thought process of vision versus execution. What's the biggest misconception about the balance in that vision and execution as a business grows?
I mean, the trap, if you will, or sometimes I call it the entrepreneurial prison. I know it sounds a bit harsh, but that trap that we all fall into is that I'm supposed to be the one to know how to do it, right? I'm the business owner. It's my business. I'm supposed to know how to figure out to get the WordPress connection to the Zapier thing so it posts on LinkedIn with my email. Like, no, you're not. You're not supposed to know that level of detail. You're supposed to know that you want a solution. You want a strategy in place. So when a visionary, an entrepreneur, is confronted with the reality that they're not supposed to be the one to figure those things out, and if they still try to figure it out, it's going to feel like 2 steps back, right? And then oftentimes what happens is they beat themselves up. There's a tremendous amount of shame or guilt of like, how am I not supposed to know how to do my bookkeeping? You're not supposed to. Right? That's why we have bookkeepers. That's why we have web designers. That's why we have social media managers. That's why we have copywriters, ad specialists, salespeople, etc. And so I think when they realize that visionary job, vision, having the trust and confidence in the execution machine to run like a well-oiled machine with the right people, the right seats, the systems and processes and everything else, they can step out of that guilt, that shame, that kind of beating myself up. I'm supposed to know everything and how to do everything. No, oftentimes I like the expression, which is rather than asking ourselves, how do I do something? In some cases, a better question is to ask, who can do that for me? And I know some people are like, well, I have to hire these people, which means I have to pay for them and I have to invest in team. Yes, you do. That's the part of growing a business, is investing in team. But the alternative is, how much time is it going to take you to figure out how to balance your bookkeeping? And if you get that time back and you reinvest that in other things that are actually going to move the needle for your business, you might be paying $30 an hour for a bookkeeper, 5 hours a week or 5 hours a month, whatever it is. But can you take that 5 hours back and reinvest it in something that's worth significantly more than what you're spending at $30 an hour? Likely so, right? So there's that magic that happens. Like, okay, I can invest and get back time and then reinvest that time into money generating activities, which is actually going to grow the business.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we could just drop the mic right there, Derek. I mean, that was really, really, really good, because you just said some things that I believe that the audience will now feel better about where they're at. And I
Yeah.
really hope that the audience that watches this understands that you don't have to,
Yeah.
there are people like COO Solutions. There are
Yeah.
other people, and I'm sure you have other connections that can lead someone, somewhere else that's needed, especially once you hear their vision. It's like, you don't just need this, you need
Yeah.
also that. So I truly love that. And I don't want to miss the point of saying that doesn't just help the audience, that actually helps me. I think I
Yeah.
took a deep breath of saying, I don't have to know all of that. I don't have to know how to do the things that I just never actually thought to do it. I just thought
Yeah.
it was a really grand, business idea. And now people are making me do content, and people are making me, bookkeeping.
It's a mindset shift, really, because it's so much easier said than done. I know, because I work with people all the time. They're like, yeah, I get it, Derek, but I have to invest to get the team. And, I understand there's the reality of the investment. I never say it's an expense. It's the investment in getting the right people to help you in the things that you are not wired to know how to do or figure it out, because it's going to take you more time, more effort, more energy. You're going to feel drained. If you don't get it done right, you're going to beat yourself up and everything else. So I realize there's that reality, but here's a hack. Here's what I do with my clients. And here's how we provide the service that we work with, in the clients that we support. And even something that I do, which is I do this all the time, because again, I am the COO, and now I'm stepping more into be that visionary. So I'm asking myself the same question, which is this, and I don't care what it is, whether it's responding to email, managing your calendar, reconciling your QuickBooks, trying to build your website, right? Unless you were an expert in WordPress, you shouldn't be building your website, right? And so every now and then, prompt yourself in the doing of what you're doing and in the energy of feeling that this doesn't feel right. Yeah. And I feel like I should be doing something else. I don't want to be doing this. I'm sure there's somebody else that could do it for me. They could probably even do it better. Mm-hmm. Find those activities, tasks, start very, very small, and see if there's somebody that's on your team or somebody that you need to bring on to your team. I always say start with a VA, somebody that can come in and just very simply, like, can you please help me do this? Can you please do this for me? And let go, relinquish control, trust the process, because in order to scale, you actually have to let go. And I know as entrepreneurs, we're control freaks, right? Yes. We control everything. Right? I want it like this, I want it like that. But if you have a systematic way and a precise system as we provide in exactly what needs to happen or how it needs to be done, then you don't need to figure out the how. You can have somebody step in and execute it. And again, in a way that might be better than you could actually do it in a fraction of the time. And then you feel, okay, I can then go and do something else that's going to move the needle. And then once you get the confidence of delegating, then you can delegate more and delegate more and delegate more. And so it's like a muscle. The more you delegate and the more you give, the more you get back in terms of what else you could be doing in your business to drive it forward. So it's a little hack, just like find the small things, just 1 or 2 things a day to be like, should I really be doing this? Is this really the best use of my time? Can I spend a little bit to invest to get my time back to then go and make 5X on that investment? Probably so.
And Derek, I was just sitting here thinking, uneloquently speaking, sometimes you got to spend money to make money.
Exactly.
And I know visionaries think about the big vision in it, but the whole point about owning and having a business is making profit. So spending money to make money, which frees you up to still focus on what you're really super good at, like you being the superhero. So I love that. And delegation and delegate, that is the key word to everything. And so many people have a challenge with that, like you said, because I even say we're control freaks, It's like, it's my business. I'm the founder, co-founder, founder of the founder, and this is it.
I should do it. I should know it all. I get it, and that's the journey, right? And it's never, entrepreneurship is never linear, right? It's never going to be exactly how it's supposed to be. There's going to be bumps. There's going to be hurdles. There's going to feel like the roller coaster effect. And so when you are in some of this roller coaster, honor what you're feeling and try not to always persevere through the effort. If it feels too much like effort, there's probably a reason that it's not supposed to be that way. And let's find an alternative solution. And visionaries are great at finding other solutions, other alternatives. Can we improvise? Can we come up with this approach? So do that mindset shift when it comes to delegation, hiring. Start small, build your confidence, build your momentum, and then you can scale, leveraging your team.
Absolutely. And just to be kind of your time, but I'm going to say this. If you are watching this, rewind it over and over again, just to hear the nuggets that Derek is dropping right now. I know I said mic drop once, but I'm telling you, there's some key things that he said. So watch it over and over again. Treadmill, walking, whatever you're doing. And this, I believe, Derek, because you're so passionate about it and you have that understanding, I believe that this will comfort so many individuals trying. But before you go, I have a favorite question of mine.
Sure.
What are the greatest joys of what you do?
That's a great question. Wonderful question. I love the word joy. Yeah.
Yes.
I would say the greatest joy, one of them, I have many in the work that we do with clients. I have some goosebumps when I share this, because I think it's pretty empowering for those that are, listening to this and resonating with what we're talking about. For me, one of the biggest joys is when we work with a client and visually I can start to see that they relax, that they become more at peace and a little bit more calm in their business, because they get the realization that they have an opportunity in the moment we start supporting them in a new way of doing things going forward, that it's kind of like little popcorns are going off, like, blah, blah, blah. I can see how things are going to change. And it's primarily based on the fact that they feel free and confident and empowered to be able to step more of working on the business as opposed to having to work in it. And when they get that sense of freedom or enlightenment or excitement or whatever you want to call it, I often ask them, I said, so how do you feel now that we've talked about these things and making some of these changes? And I'm like, I can already feel that things are going to be different. And it's like, I didn't ask them, what do you think? I said, what do you feel, right? Because we can intellectualize all day long, but what you feel here is often very intuitive based on what's really energetically coming up for them. And when they breathe that sigh of relief, and they feel that things are going to be different, and they feel calm and excited about it, that for me is a great joy. Then we get to work, right? Then we get to the practical stuff and we start to, make stuff happen and move the needle forward. But they get this just calmness, this feeling of relief, of almost kind of acknowledging that they got to that point where they know that they can't keep going in that direction. And so the lever's been removed, and then they can continue to go in the direction they want to go in. So for me, that's probably the greatest joy in some respect, for sure.
I love that. And I was just thinking, because I love fitness, I'm just thinking about when that arm exercise is over and you drop the weights.
Yeah.
It's like,
right. And there's that rush a little bit. Yeah, exactly. And then there's the kind of look like, okay.
I could do this. I got that whole vision when you said that, was like, that's the idea. Please share with myself and the audience how they can get in contact with you, website, social media handles.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my website, it's thecoosolution.com. I have a podcast as well called the COO Solution Podcast, where I share more about this message and different strategies and techniques that help our clients, mostly visionaries, founders, that can help them scale and grow their business. And I'll also offer at the coosolution.com website, there's a quiz that's there. If someone's interested and you might be wondering, is now maybe the right time for me to consider bringing on a fractional COO, or, like I said, an OBM, an online business manager? And it's a free quiz. It helps you understand, where am I getting stuck? Where would I need that type of support? And is now the right time to consider that? So that's an option for somebody to consider if they're looking for exploring what that might look like to help them in their business.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.